Today I'm going to be ranking the Kendrick Lamar vs Drake diss tracks, worst to best. But why am I doing this? The beef's been dead and buried for about 3 months now. Well, Kendrick Lamar's just dropped a new diss track, Watch the Party Die, where he yet again goes after Drake. 14 diss tracks, let's go for number 14. The Heart Part 6 by Drake. I don't even know what Drake was doing. This was just Drake pussying out the beef. I don't remember much of this diss track because it wasn't a diss track. All he says is, you're a liar, liar, pants on fire. So in my books, it gets negative points. Oh yeah, didn't include Poopy Pants, by the way, my bad. I feel like calling this the Heart Part 6 kind of did work in a way, because I feel like Watch the Party Die would have been called the Heart Part 6 if this track never came out. So it's partially successful. And moving on, number 13, Tailor-Made Freestyle by Drake. This is a very disrespectful one. He used AI-generated vocals of Tupac, who's been deceased for a long time. But other than that, I don't really remember much he said at all. This was meant to be the follow-up to Push Ups and really just be the nail in the coffin for Kendrick. But I feel like making this track really took away from what Push Ups did. So I don't see it really have any impact like it was meant to. But these are the only 2 diss tracks I feel like, what, just why? Moving on, number 12, First Person Shooter by, you guessed it, Drake. You'll find a lot of these diss tracks which are like on the lower end of the spectrum. All Drake's. Why? He's just pretty shit at this. Nah, he's alright. All this was Drake and J. Cole seemingly sneak dissing Kendrick, claiming to be the best 2 rappers in the world when they're just discrediting Kendrick Lamar. And just because he went on a hiatus for a few years doesn't mean he's down and out as a rapper. But yeah, all this track was sneak dissing. And I feel like it wasn't that good as a diss track, but the other 2 did a disservice to Drake. So I feel like this one, as a slight diss, is still better than them. Moving on to number 11, the Like That remix by Kanye West. I don't know what Kanye's doing trying to get into this beef. He started off with a little like Instagram post just saying he out-rapped Drake, he out-raps Kendrick. They just didn't give a shit, so he just decided to join the beef and back Kendrick even though he dissed him about a few days before. I don't know what he's doing, to be honest with you. I've just put it here because he at least dissed Drake a little bit, even if it was a bit shit, plus it had a sick instrumental. That was pretty better than the original Like That beat, which was sick itself. It is better than 2 of Drake's diss tracks, and Drake's meant to be one of the best rappers in the world. Yeah, no, not at all. Moving on to number 10, 7 Minute Drill by J. Cole. This isn't the Cole we all know. This was the most rushed shit. A lot of rappers claim that they write things really easily and they write things really quickly. But I genuinely believe J. Cole spent 7 minutes on this. It was the most average rap song, and it should not have been coming from J. Cole, one of the greatest rappers out. So he tried to diss Kendrick Lamar's discography, and Kendrick Lamar is one of the best discographies of any rapper. So I don't even know what he's playing out there. He tried to call To Pimp a Butterfly. Boring. At least he tried, but then he backed out of it. I just don't get how J. Cole was basically begging for a beef with anyone for about a couple years. I get peace of mind, but you can't be repping this image like you're waiting for a beef and then backing out at the first stray. Moving on, number 9, Watch the Party Die by Kendrick Lamar. I've put it here because I don't feel like it's a diss track about Drake. I feel like this is a commentary dissing the current state of rap. Not purely Drake, even though some would say he's the culture, which is, I can't, how has that happened? I feel as if this is kind of like what Nas did with Hip Hop Is Dead back in 2006. This is Hip Hop Is Dead 2, but as a track. All the people bragging about the money, all the women, just all this shit no one gives a shit about. Killed it. In a way, it kind of feels like a beef epilogue, the closing statements, as recently he did say in the Super Bowl thing, there's no round 2s. So in that realm, it could be considered a diss. That's why I feel like I've put it up here, just above all of these other, like, it's pretty shitty ones. I didn't put it any higher because I don't think it's a diss. Remember when Kendrick Lamar said, if I diss you, it'll be direct. This ain't a diss. Moving on, number 8, 616 in LA. I feel like this diss track gets so discredited, and I feel like I'm dissing the diss track by putting it at 8 because it just didn't have the same disses, it didn't have the same impact as any of the other ones. I've listened to this one quite a bit because I do like the lines like, you can't tootsie slide out of this one. I felt that was fucking hilarious when I heard it, but I really do love the beat of this one as well. But if we're ranking the disses purely, this ain't the same level as some of the others, so it has to be at 8. But yeah, moving on to number 7, Push Ups. I remember when this came out, everyone thought it was AI, people didn't know if it was him. I feel like Drake was kind of just waiting for the response. People said it was good, he'd claim it. If people thought it was shit, he'd just be like, nah, it's AI, man. But everyone was dissing him. He went at everyone from Rick Ross to Metro, not just Kendrick. Yeah, I think it's a quality diss, but there's one thing we don't know for certain. Did Drake write it? Probably not. Moving on to the number 6 spot, Family Matters by Drake. This is a very good diss track from Drake as well. Probably didn't write it yet again, but there was typical Drake zest on it. but he went after everyone and he did it in fine fashion. It kind of feels like the big brother to push-ups. He just did everything he did in push-ups, but just did it to a higher degree. The main thing I really remember about this diss track is calling Kendrick Lamar a wife beater, and in the end it all became really about allegations, and it's not proven, nor is Kendrick Lamar stuff, so I'll just leave it at that. But I don't think Kendrick's a wife beater personally. Well, it was a really good diss track for Drake, fair play. Moving on to number 5, Like That by Metro Boomin and Future featuring Kendrick Lamar. This is the verse that fucked up the whole game. When We Don't Trust You came out, I remember I listened to it first day, and there were all of these artists you thought would feature. You expect like The Weeknd, you expect Travis Scott, you expect Carti. One I did not expect to come was Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar, I did not expect to feature at all, and he just fucked it all up. I was so excited. I was a bit annoyed at the same time because I was literally going on a little holiday, so I had to go away, and I was like, oh man, why is this all started now? He had a tight-knit, like, minute verse where he both dissed Drake and J. Cole, but it led to both of them fucking up both their images, one more so than the other. As a diss track, I can't put it higher because it's only one verse. Moving on to number 4, Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. This is the one everyone talks about. This is the one everyone knows. A diss track so good that it becomes NPC music. And that is the ultimate disrespect to Drake, because Drake's music is NPC music. Every time I go to the club now, I hear this track. Anytime I'm on Spotify, this always autoplays. Anytime I go anywhere. I remember going to some girly clothes shop with my girlfriend and hearing this song playing. There were no blokes around, it was just birds, and this song was playing. That's the levels it's got to now. But I'll be real though, this track is so overplayed. You do hear it everywhere, and it's not even the best of the beef. And I feel like the A minor bar is gonna haunt Drake for the rest of his career. Anytime he puts an A minor in any of his tracks, he's always just gonna get comments down below. Very, very good diss track. So overplayed though. Moving on to number 3, Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar. I remember we were waiting for weeks and weeks for the Kendrick Lamar reply, because Drake came out with push-ups and then tailor-made freestyle, which kind of like fucked it, but it was good, and no one expected Drake to actually come with heat. Kendrick Lamar was pretty like waiting to like stock up all of his assets, pretty have PDF files or just different diss tracks to whatever Drake says. The first one he came out with, I thought this was Kendrick's ether, because it was so good. Bar after bar, diss after diss, I thought it was so tight and great as a rap song. It was so good. It was so good as a diss track. I considered it off the bat one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, because I knew what I was hearing. I knew that this was greatness, I guess, but I didn't expect him to level it up yet again. And that's what he did with our number 2 pick, Meet the Grahams by Kendrick Lamar. Bro, this guy ain't gonna stop. This is a horror film as a song. Literally, the beat is so eerie as he goes one by one. Kind of like Jason Friday the 13th, killing each person. Going from Drake's mum, just being like, you don't know the person you raised. Going to Dennis, you know the person you raised. The absolute dickhead your son is. Going to his newborn daughter, which hasn't been confirmed yet, which is a bit mad. Confirming her existence, we still don't know though. To Adonis saying you need to listen to this when you're older. Just like trying to raise his kid, and that's so patronising towards Drake that he's actually doing that. And speaking to Drake's family, as Kendrick the one dissing him, it's mad. That's something you don't go after, someone's family. Literally when he said your son's a sick man, a sick thought. That whole part of the song I find so crazy. It's not a good listen. Just claiming that Drake has sex offenders on OVO, it's crazy. And we know that Drake has tied Diddy, for example, so that kind of confirms it. Literally Diddy saying, oh nah man, Drake, you're one of the greatest of all time. Start clapping really zestily. I've sold all of these birds he's been with. Literally like a weird, mad guy. In my opinion, Meet the Grahams is one of the greatest diss tracks of all time. It's probably top 3 for me, maybe top 5, but it could be top 3 for me. It's a very good diss track, not as good as our number 1 pick. So moving on to the number 1 pick, Metro and Miles, BBL Drizzy.